Should be an absolutely fascinating battle once we get our pictures back. Zakarin was definitely there in the mix. Quintana sat in about 6th wheel. All of the main players in the fray. And Quintana already stolen a little bit of a march.
He has, just looking back through as well, seeing where the FDJ boys are, and Reichenbach is there, but here goes Quintana. He's had enough. He's been hidden beautifully, and just is that Kudus that's just gone with him here as they start to get into the climb. 16 seconds to the yellow jersey from these guys out front. Head of the course right now, Nairo Quintana. Now this is brave by Quintana. All day he's been hiding in there, but he's been on display throughout this tour of Valencia, this Comunidad Valencia, and it's great to see. And I think that is Reichenbach is just coming over to him, just having a gaze through. Maybe it's somebody from Gazprom, is it?
I think it's possibly one Firsonoff.
Unzipped to confuse me, showing a flash of white. There we are, 25 seconds now. Well, don't forget, he needs to find 54, Quintana. Less than that, 44, I guess, with bonuses factored in. In fact, no, we have no bonuses at the line today.
Well, it's already... No bonuses at all.
Yeah, exactly. Beg your pardon. So he's got to do it all himself. 54 seconds. Well, he's got company. He won't mind that. But I guess it's now or never for he. Who else is going to join the fun? It is one of the Gazprom boys. Beg your pardon. So I think it may well be Lagotin. Is it Aidar Zakarin?
We'll have a little look in a second. Hopefully we'll get some indication, but it's definitely Kudus sat on the wheel of a flying Nairo Quintana. Eases himself out of the saddle as the gradient goes up. Great ride here by Kudus. How long can he hold on? Looks like one of the riders from Direct Energy trying to get across the gap there as well.
Well, yeah, maybe it's my colour blindness, but I thought it was somebody from Lotto Jumbo. We'll have a look in a moment. It certainly was a long shot, and we both gave it one of those. 30 seconds and 36 seconds. My goodness, he's finding what he needs. Now, well, can he sustain it and have BMC, who are wearing the yellow jersey? No response, I'm afraid. It's not going to be Greg van Avermaet's day. This is way down the order, 40 seconds off the back, essentially, of the group that matters. Michael Schär doing his best to guide him into a safer place, but he's going to be handing over that jersey at the end of today. Riders all over the place on a brutal climb that we've seen in the Vuelta before, and we're seeing it again today. The ticker hasn't moved, by the way, which tells you just how slowly we are taking this, although fastest of all of them is Nairo Quintana.
Indeed, Quintana looking very good, but I think one of the riders that had joined our trio in front, or forms part of the trio, is just being dropped now, was one of the riders from the FC Porto Continental team. He's now dropping back. Meanwhile, Kudus turning that tiny gear behind, trying to save his legs as much as he can, doing so well to hold on to the wheel of Nairo Quintana, who looks at the moment as if he could even turn it up a little bit more if he wanted to.
He's going for it. He's certainly starting to drive into this incline right now, and it's one of the testy little kicks, Matt, that come very early on, around about the 3K marker. He's pitching up to about 19% at the moment. You can see the way people are standing at the side of the road. He's still seated, and he's making it look as simple as it possibly could be.
Well, it's absolute poetry in motion. When Nairo Quintana lets it fly, it really is something to behold. But again, I'll take my hat off to Kudus. Sat on his wheel, turning a slightly lower gear, sat really forward on the saddle. This is where the pitch is up again to 17%, and at the back end of this kilometre it's 19 and 21%. The road relentlessly steep, and these two now really stealing a march ahead of the rest.
Just what Quintana wanted, and it's just what this race wanted as well, to see him in his pomp. He's going to do the double this year, he hopes, going for the Giro, the centenary of the Giro d'Italia, which you'll be able to see live here on Eurosport, of course. And then he's got a very short gap before he goes for the Tour de France. Will it be too much? Well, you know that last year Oleg Tinkoff started offering up big amounts of money for riders, the sort of, as he saw, the big four, to take on all three Grand Tours. Nobody was up for it, apart from Contador. I think was probably forced to has his hand forced by his impresario owner, let's put it that way. Tinkoff's gone, and so is the idea of doing all three Grand Tours. But let's just put that to one side for a moment and imagine that if Nairo Quintana goes well at the Giro, let's say he wins it, let's say he goes close at the Tour de France, will he then take on the Vuelta at the end? It may well be. He's got the quality, certainly, to, on a day such as this, to dominate, and that's precisely what he is showing. Mohamed Kudus, the only man who can stay with him, and the gap is 50 seconds. 50 seconds. Well, at the top of this, all he needed was 54, 58 all of a sudden. He's our virtual leader.
But look how composed he is. It looks like he's breathing through his nose. Very impressive indeed. Looks absolutely in control. Kudis, 23, the 23-year-old Eritrean, sat in his slipstream on this climb. The style of these riders is quite remarkable. Sat really forward on the saddle. Some of these smaller, diminutive climbers, they get the most power out of the bike when they're sat forward. Is Kudis still there? It looks like he's now been distanced. Lost a couple of lengths, fighting his bicycle. What a brave effort.
Bang, there he goes. And Quintana keeps the hammer down. This is a little respite zone as he's guided towards the right. Only a short one, you understand. It gives him the luxury of looking back down the mountain. Now, that clock's bounced from 58 to 23 seconds in very short order. That does not mean that Greg Van Avermaet has lit it up or has got a lift from anybody. No, it means that the clock's not to be trusted. So we'll just have to wait until we get to the line. Still says 3 kilometres. By my reckoning, he's got about 2 remaining, not 3. So you'll have to forgive us for being misdirected on occasion. We'll see what the gap is at the very last. He needs 54 seconds. I still think it's his for the taking here. He certainly believes that. And look at the way he is taking on this incline. Look at the way, how much trouble everyone's having just moving, except for him. Those who don't have to take a machine up here, well, they should potentially have had an easier task of staying alongside him. Can't do it. 22% now. Sudden little kick grind and then flattens out yet again. This is great to watch. It
is really great to watch. He didn't take any time in going to the front. He knew he had to light it up early. Remember, this climb only 4 kilometres long, but brutally steep. He didn't wait. Quite often we see Nairo Quintana wait for a couple of kilometres, but he knew to take the maximum amount of time he had to go early and really impose himself on this climb, and that is what he's doing.
Problem is, he's going to be getting radio reports of what the time gap is, and it can't be trusted. That's the official time gap. So I guess it's just 1 kilometre to go. It's for 2 to go, I beg your pardon. Still says 3. That was a tiny little sign nailed to a tree there. Matt spotted it and went star jumpy, but 2 to go. We're finally there. But is it true that it's 44 seconds? He's got to find another 10. And here's Greg Van Avermaet just pushing on, is it?
No, I think
it's Lotto Jumbo. They're trying to pick out the yellow jersey, but unfortunately they've gone and found Roglic out there. Minute 11 it suddenly said, and they decided to scrap the clock. Thank goodness for that. So clock's out because it's just far too confusing. Minute 11, I believe that actually was the case, but nonetheless Quintana is going for victory here. What a brave take this will be.
Absolutely fantastic. We thought he'd be the favourite, but the way he's imposed him so far on this climb, mightily impressive. The brave Kudis held his wheel for about 2 kilometres, then there was nothing he could do about the might from this tiny Colombian. Absolutely screaming as well at this climb. I think the 2 Lotto NL Jumbo riders we saw, I think it was Roglic and Steven Kruijswijk, who looked like they were with vault poles.
Just about to take on 19, 20 and 22% at the very last. It's going to get steeper than this, albeit with a few little flatter sections within it. A series of steps, Matt, but he is equal to all of them, and he's stepped up to the plate today, hasn't he?
Well, it really has opened up a significant gap over the second place rider now. We haven't got a time check back to the yellow jersey, but I think what we can say quite safely at the moment, unless something awful happens, Nairo Quintana is riding his way into the yellow jersey, and what a way to do it. It's going to be a battle for the minor placings, but what a display of climbing prowess.
Well, a bell has rung, I think, on everybody for round 1 of this season, and the victor of it is going to be Nairo Quintana, and that's got to set off alarm bells in everyone else's mind. This man is on absolutely supreme form. He got it wrong in terms of his preparation, and when he decided to enter the season last year, it seems he's hit the ground running or rolling to absolute perfection at the moment. Nobody is in this kind of condition at the moment. He is. Can he sustain it? I believe he probably can. This could be the first page of a big chapter this year.
It certainly could. He's already won the Giro. He's already won the Vuelta. Will he win the Tour de France? Again, the rumours are he's going to try and do the double. Will he recalibrate a bit? This is where the road really kicks up. There is your yellow jersey fighting the gradient with every single fibre he has.
Goodness.
This rider will not give up.
Yeah, but look at the difference. You saw Quintana coming up here, and it was it couldn't have been. It was a polar opposite in terms of demeanour when they got to that point of the course. Quintana's on a steeper incline right now. He's just coming to the end, and it looks like an entirely other course. There we are. He suddenly just reaches one of these little plateaus. It'll be 22% to bring him home, and he will bring it home. You're about to see the Flamme Rouge, and he is, and that will come very, very welcome, provided some of the erstwhile fans who don't look rather fleeting on their feet, I'm afraid, don't unfortunately get in the way. Let's hope not. Nearly there.
Nearly there now. It won't be long, as you said, Colin, before Nairo Quintana goes under the Flamme Rouge, but meanwhile, I'd say well over a minute, maybe a minute and a half back is the yellow jersey. Just look at the ease of which Nairo Quintana, he does look like if he wanted to, he could turn it up another gear, but on this sort of climb, what you don't want to do is put yourself into the red, because there's no way of resting at all. He'll just be riding at threshold. He knows his body oh so well, but what an absolutely superb ride. He hasn't got his numbers on his back. It looks like they've blown off. There we go.
As well as blowing everyone else away. It's amazing, isn't it? The way he's just so relaxed in adversity is something to behold. He's a very, very brave rider, and he's a quiet man when he's off the bike, but he is almost one of the ultimate competitors. He gets well, he's kind of got the demeanour of an assassin when he's in a situation such as this. He knows what he's got to do. It's almost like he writes his own script and then acts it out perfectly, and that's what he's doing today.
Well, he was delivered perfectly to the foot of the climb by his Movistar teammates. Team Sky led for so long, and then Movistar took it right to the bottom, and then he literally did light it up. He had no other thoughts of the way anybody else was going to ride. This sort of climb with these sorts of brutally steep gradients, he's 59 kilograms. He knows if he rides at threshold with that sort of weight, clearly the condition that he's in, nobody is going to be able to hold his wheel. What a brave effort again. I'll say it again. Kudis, the 23-year-old Eritrean from Dimension Days, did so well, but it looks like he's just coming into the final K now.
It is. That's the flamme yellow, the flamme jaune.
It's a modest little
that's
flamme rouge,
They had to
it?
move the finish. That's your modest flamme rouge.
Well,
the camera bike just sailing through, and there it is again. They had to take the barriers down just in case they blew down earlier on. No time to anchor it beyond that, I'm afraid, which is why he's having his photograph taken right now, because this is the finale, essentially, of what is the Queen stage of this race. We will go to Valencia tomorrow. It will be pressure off this man after heaping it upon his own shoulders today. I think he wanted to test himself, you know, apart from testing everybody else, just to see where he is, and that's what you get from these early season races. The answer he's received back to himself must be extraordinarily positive. Well, he could take a great deal of comfort from him. He's on one of these flatter sections. He's actually reached the victory plateau.
He certainly has. It does kick up right to the end, and meanwhile a bit further down the mountain, some great teamwork here by Michael Shah of BMC. Just behind him is your race leader, but it looks like that jersey is going to be swapping shoulders in just about 500 metres time. There's Danny Moreno. I thought he'd be in for a good ride today, but his job, I guess, was to make sure that Nairo Quintana was delivered to the bottom, so his job is done. But you know, the Belgians still fighting every inch of the way to this climb. Remember, Nairo Quintana has to claw back 54 seconds on Greg Van Avermaet, but there is the evidence. 3:02 now, job done.
Yes, I don't think that would have been displayed if it wasn't at least that. Yes, it's I'm afraid for Greg Van Avermaet, what a brave rider he's been, and fabulous to watch him. We knew when he was going to go into the leader's jersey, and did so duly on cue when we came out of Denier. Held on to it yesterday and in fact rode it with aplomb today, but I'm afraid there's just one man who's suited to this kind of terrain, and you're looking at him right now just rounding the final part of the course. You may well be familiar to some of you, this little dip at the top of the mountain, and it's just all about celebration for this man, or it will be once he crosses the line. 5 hours in the saddle, and just a lifetime, it seems, of dominance perhaps laying ahead of him. There are clearly riders out there who can match Quintana, but none riding here today.
It doesn't even there's nobody even between that's going to threaten him at all. This is where the road really kicks up. The last few hundred metres are a grueling 22%, but still he fights all the way to the line. He won't give up at all. He'll keep battling every inch of the way.
There's
what
the
a lovely shot of the finish there. Yeah. A ruined building and a ruined field.
It was a hell of a party last night, as you can see at the finish line barn. That's what they've got to deal with, and I'm afraid Greg Van Avermaet will get there. But it's going to be a hatful of time he takes today, or ships, I should say. This man, Quintana, just bounces up here. It'll take him a wee while, provided the snow leopard doesn't get in the way, or indeed the tiger. Yeah, Quintana, what a superb prospect for this season. It's strange to call him a prospect. I'm talking about the prospect of great racing. Froome will be up against him, of course, in the Tour de France. Quintana is going to take on potentially 3 Grand Tours, definitely 2. We'll see how fresh he feels for La Vuelta, but he always functions well in Spain. And of course, that's exactly where we are here for this great race, the Comunidad Valenciana, back on the calendar, back in our consciousness, as if it needed underscoring. This is the 75 metres to go marker. He's about to come through right now. It'll still take him some time, but the time will be shorter than everybody else's.
It certainly will. But here behind is the battle for second place. We'll get confirmation of who it is. It looks like it is one of the riders from the FC Porto, and with him was Costa. They're not too far behind, but it's all about this man today, Nairo Quintana.
Quintana just reaching the crest right now. 25 meters to go. Well, everybody be aware, Quintana is in dangerous form. Wow, the clock will roll now, and it'll be a long old count before we get some of the main players from this race. Quintana just says, how did I do? And then the message comes in, you've won it. That was a piece of class, Matt Stevens.
I mean, it's just to see him cross the line, composure under pressure personified, absolutely impressive, rode within himself. Nothing anybody can do. This is the battle for second place. It is. Whereas Kudis, the 23-year-old Eritrean for Dimension Data, what a superb ride by him. Still second place.
Holds on and takes it absolutely beautifully. Well, is that Lopez just coming in? No, Wout Poels. What a fantastic effort by Wout Poels as well. Wout Poels was way down the order, but that's a defending champion. Really, all credit to him. Chapeau to him for putting in so much into today. Wout Poels started the day, 58 seconds down, so he may well find himself in second place overall. We'll see how everyone else factors in by the time we get to the results. Well done, Wout Poels. Absolutely outstanding ride by him. And indeed by everyone today. They've taken on this incline, which was always going to be the queen stage of the race, and provided some real entertainment for us. Well, there we saw David Formolo across the line. Seni, that looks like Ilno Zakarin of Katusha Alpecin. And here is Greg Van Avermaet. He's conceded a minute and a half already. The yellow jersey has gone, but he'll still battle on. He's certainly battled bravely on this one. There's nothing he can do. He's conceded seconds, but he's also conceded 15 kilograms in weight. 59 kilograms Nairo Quintana weighs. Greg Van Avermaet 74 kilograms. And that's what happens on these very, very steep climbs. The natural climbers really do come into their own. I didn't think it was long enough, you know. I didn't think it was long enough for Quintana today, but he clearly had what it took, and it was the incline that that favoured him. It's
just a great. And had this been maybe a 6 or 7% climb, I think Greg Van Avermaet may have held on maybe to the end. Maybe
throughout this tour of Valencia, this Comunidad Valencia, and it's great to see. And I think that is Reichenbach is just coming over to him, just having a gaze through. Maybe it's somebody from Gazprom, is it?
I think it's possibly one Firsonoff.
Unzipped. It confused me, showing a flash of white. There we are, 25 seconds now. Well, don't forget, he needs to find 54, Quintana. Less than that, 44, I guess, with bonuses factored in. In fact, no, we've no bonuses at the line today.
Well, it's already no bonuses at all.
Yeah, exactly. Beg your pardon. So he's got to do it all himself. 54 seconds. Well, he's got company. He won't mind that. But I guess it's now or never. Well, can he sustain it and have BMC, who are wearing the yellow jersey? No response, I'm afraid. It's not going to be Greg Van Avermaet's day. This is way down the order. 40 seconds off the back, essentially, of the group that matters. Michael Schär doing his best to guide him into a safer place, but he's going to be handing over that jersey at the end of today. Riders all over the place on a brutal climb that we've seen in the Vuelta before, and we're seeing it again today. The ticker hasn't moved, by the way, which tells you just how slowly we are taking this, although fastest of all of them is Nairo Quintana.
Indeed, Quintana looking very good, but I think one of the riders that joined our trio in front, or forms part of the trio, is just... This should be an absolutely fascinating battle once we get our pictures back. Zakarin was definitely there in the mix. Quintana sat in about sixth wheel. All of the main players in the fray. And Quintana already stolen a little bit of a march.
He has, just looking back through as well, seeing where the FDJ boys are, and Reichenbach is there. But here goes Quintana. He's had enough. He's been hidden beautifully. And just, is that Kudus that's just gone with him here as they start to get into the climb. 16 seconds to the yellow jersey from these guys out front. Head of the course right now, Nairo Quintana. Now, this is brave by Quintana. All day he's been hiding in there, but he's been on display for he. Who else is going to join the fun? It is one of the Gazprom boys. Beg your pardon. So I think it may well be Lagotin. Was it Is it Aidar Zakarin?
We'll have a little look in a second. Hopefully we'll get some indication, but it's definitely Kudis sat on the wheel of a flying Nairo Quintana, eases himself out of the saddle as the gradient goes up. Great ride here by Kudis. How long can he hold on? Looks like one of the riders from Direct Energy trying to get across the gap there as well.
Well, yeah, maybe it's my colour blindness, but I thought it was somebody from Lotto Jumbo. We'll have a look in a moment. It certainly was a long shot, and we both gave it one of those. 30 seconds and 36 seconds. My goodness, he's finding what he needs now.
Being dropped now was one of the riders from the FC Porto Continental team. He's now dropping back. Meanwhile, Kudis turning that tiny gear behind, trying to save his legs as much as he can, doing so well to hold on to the wheel of Nairo Quintana, who looks at the moment as if he could even turn it up a little bit more if he wanted to.
He's going for it. He's certainly starting to drive into this incline right now, and it's one of the testy little kicks, Matt, that come very early on, around about the 3K marker. He's pitching up to about 19% at the moment. You can see the way people are standing at the side of the road. He's still seated, and he's making it look as simple as it possibly could be.
Well, it's absolute poetry in motion. When Nairo Quintana lets it fly, it really is something